Now we know Patrick Toney will be the defensive play caller for the Florida Gators this fall. So we'll look at how that impacts the team. Florida Gators, they got NFL Combine invites, and we'll wrap up by talking about 3 Florida Gators in the NBA, only here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered with, this season, more props, anything really. They're just the best props, odds, lines ever. BetOnline, where the game starts. Happy Monday. I am Brandon Olson. You can find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Written works with Whole Nine Sports. Hope you had a good Super Bowl Sunday and hope your head doesn't hurt too much today. But Patrick Toney's been named the defensive play caller of the Florida Gators. And this was kind of the expected outcome. But Florida officially got it announced on Friday when Billy Napier had his press conference. And he was like, look, Patrick Toney is going to be the defensive play caller, which again, it's kind of what is expected to happen here. Toney's the co-defensive coordinator and safeties coach. And then the other co-defensive coordinator is a defensive line coach, Sean Spencer. But of the two, it's like, and I've spoken before, like I like the mashup here, but of the two, Patrick Toney is the only one that's got actual experience being a full-time defensive play caller. So for him to be named the defensive play caller here, that's not surprising. I think that one of the possibilities could be Patrick Toney's only going to be here for 2 or 3 years and then gets a DC job somewhere else as a full-time DC or head coach job somewhere else. And then I think Sean Spencer might step up to be the defensive play caller of the Florida Gators, assuming he's still here. So there's that. But it's also like Patrick Toney is a bit of a coverage and disguise specialist. We've spoken about creepers and sim pressure with him, where those are two big things he likes to focus on. And I'll link the video in the description below when I did speak about that, because that was, I think, 2 segments worth of it, where it's just creepers and sim pressure is big for Patrick Toney. So I think that it's better to have him there because, yes, he allows you to do it, but he also allows you to dial them up at the right time, because they're not something you should be doing every play. But he allows you to dial them up at the right time, where Sean Spencer, who has never been a defensive play caller before full time, he won't really know when, or not that he won't know, but we don't know if he'll know when to dial these up. And I think that you just go with the safer option at that point. Sean Spencer will, of course, have a say in terms of what the defense does, what the game plan will be with every team and every game. He's obviously going to be there. So he's not left out in the dark, really. But it just makes a lot of sense to have Patrick Toney be the defensive play caller here. It also makes a lot of sense when you look at the foundation of this coaching staff. When you look at just like their relationships and their background, it makes a lot of sense that Patrick Toney would be named the defensive or the defensive play caller, because Sean Spencer was with the Giants last year. He was with Penn State for years before that. Whereas Patrick Toney was at Louisiana with Billy Napier, where Patrick Toney was the defensive coordinator, which is one of the reasons when Patrick Toney was getting brought on, I didn't think he would be a co-defensive coordinator. I figured he'd still be the defensive coordinator. But of course, he's the defensive play caller and co-defensive coordinator, obviously partially so that they can justify paying Sean Spencer probably more, is my reasoning for saying that. It's the same reason I said Rob Sale's offensive coordinator, but Billy Napier is the one that's calling the plays and doing most of the game planning. So it comes down to pay there. But I think when you look at this, it's like, well, Patrick Toney actually has experience calling plays. Patrick Toney is more, he's got a better reputation with Billy Napier. So it was kind of clear that Billy Napier is going to lean towards him a little bit. But also, yeah, like you look at what the Gators are going to do defensively and what they're built up to do. Patrick Toney fits a lot of what they want to do. And Patrick Toney, like I said, like he's more of a safeties. He's a safeties coach. He's a corners coach before. He's moved around. But he's more focused on that back 7. And I think if you got a co-defensive coordinator who's focused on the front 4 and one's focused on the back 7, you should probably go with the one that's more focused on the back 7. And look, Patrick Toney has a proven track record as one hell of a defensive game planner and a defensive play caller. And if, like I've said this before, if you need to see just how good Patrick Toney can be because he is damn good at his job, watch the Liberty game versus Louisiana last year because that was easily Malik Willis's worst performance. And I think a lot of it, and I mean a lot of it, had to do with Patrick Toney's defensive game plan, which is big because Florida's going to face these scrambling quarterbacks, these mobile quarterbacks this year. And so having a defensive coordinator who, or defensive play caller who has already established he has no problem halting that, that's going to be big. Like the defense this year is going to be way bigger than I think most people are anticipating. And I can't wait for it. It's gonna be awesome. I think that this was the right move, and I think it was the smart move for Florida. Which again, like I said, like this was the expected outcome for Patrick Toney to be named the defensive play caller for the Florida Gators. That's nothing new, nothing shocking, nothing surprising. But it's what I'm excited for, and like I've spoken to people that are close-ish to Patrick Toney, and it's like, well, look, he ain't gonna be here long. Not that they've said that. I said that. I'm like, he's not gonna be here long, but I'm going to enjoy having one of the most talented young defensive minds in football right now. I'm going to enjoy having him as a defensive coordinator of the Florida Gators. And I can't wait for Film Friday because this is going to be a sick year to do, or Film Friday. Tape Tuesdays is what I'm doing. I don't know why I said Film Friday, but I can't wait for Tape Tuesday because it's going to be a sick year. Maybe I'll do Film Fridays. Who knows? But it's going to be very exciting to be able to kind of break down what this defense is doing, what they're showing, and it's just, I'm so excited for it. Anybody else make money this weekend? I know that, I mean, yesterday was the Super Bowl, so hopefully you did. I know I hit some, missed some, it is what it is. we move on from there. Obviously, Florida football this season screwed me. Basketball screwed me this season. Women's basketball, been making up for both of them. Thank you so much. BetOnline.net even covers award shows, TV shows, and reality TV with real-time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine. It's the best way to place your bets, and it's 100% free to sign up. Head to the website or use your mobile device because I love using their mobile site. So betonline.net, that's where the game starts. Next, we're going to look at some Florida Gators at the Combine. 4 Florida Gators got invited to the NFL Combine this year. It's obviously headlined by Kaiir Elam, the cornerback, and then behind him there's D lineman Zachary Carter, running back Dameon Pierce, and linebacker edge Jeremiah Moon. I don't know what you'd want to call him. He's kind of one of those defensive chess piece kind of guys where it's like, that's a weird bit also with Jeremiah Moon because, like, yeah, he's a defensive chess piece, but it's like, I feel like a lot of NFL teams still don't value that enough yet. Like, you look at guys like Isaiah Simmons, where it's like, well, he's not being used properly. Like, he's supposed to be someone who you put on the edge, you put at linebacker, you put at safety, hell, you put him at corner every now and you let him move. And obviously, Jeremiah Moon's not as versatile as Isaiah Simmons, but it's one of those things where a lot of defensive teams, a lot of NFL teams, they like to pigeonhole these guys. And it kind of hurts the value of them because it's like, yeah, well, they don't have a true position, which I think that just sucks. I think it's dumb also, but that is what it is. Malik Davis did not get a combine invite, and that was really weird to me. It was surprising just given like some of the running backs that did get invited. Like, not, I mean, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but like you look at like Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers, and it's like, what did he do to earn an invite? Like what the hell? So there's that. But Malik Davis, he's also out of eligibility, if I'm not mistaken. So he's not eligible to come back, and it's past the deadline to come back. So Malik Davis not coming back to Florida. He will just have to ball out at the pro day, which is so stupid. That he didn't get a combine invite. It was just ridiculous. But I think the 4 Gators that did get invited will all show out, but I think that they'll do it in their own way, and that's going to be interesting because you look at Kaiir Elam and measurables wise, like his arm length, he's gonna light it up. Like just literally when they do measurements, they're gonna see his arm length and they're gonna be like, God damn. Like that's as simple as that. He's also going to test really well, I think, in most parts. Maybe bench is gonna be bad for him. He's thin, he's lanky, and I don't know if you guys know this, but when you have longer arms, it's harder to bench press. just a smidge. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So he's probably going to struggle there. But I don't really put a lot of stock in bench for corners. So there's that. But I mean, he's really, I think positional drills is where he's going to show off, because I think positional drills, you'll really see the fluidity. And when you see someone that measures in at whatever he'll measure in at, and tests as well as he does, and then when you look at the positional drills, performs as well as he will, I think Kaiir Elam's going to make himself some money and maybe get himself back into that, first round solid um, category or discussion. Then you got the bruisers of the Florida Gators that are going to be at the combine. You got Zachary Carter and Dameon Pierce. And I cannot wait to see what their bench is going to be. And I know running back bench, a lot of people don't put a lot of stock into it. It holds some value, but I don't even care about that. Like I just know he's going to put up numbers, and I want to see him. Because they're both just two insanely strong human beings. And I think Zachary Carter, especially, actually, I think he's gonna move really well for his size. And like maybe not at like the 40. Like I don't think he's gonna demolish the 40, but the 40 for D lineman is so useless. Like when is a D lineman running 40 yards? The 10-second split, that's a lot more valuable when you look at the 40 for D lineman. But yeah, no, or the 10-yard split is much more valuable. But no one gives a damn about the 40. It's cool to see someone light it up, but in any position, how often are you just running a complete straight line for 40 yards? So there's that. But I think agility drills, Zachary Carter is going to step up and kind of show off a little more than we're expecting, and he's going to show out a little bit there. I think just for his size and for his strength, he's going to move really well, because there are going to be guys that are his size but not as strong with like the bench or whatever, and they're going to move as well, if not better. I think there are going to be guys that are, like guys that are going to be his size, do kill the bench and then suck with agility drills, guys his size that will suck at the bench and show off with agility drills. And there's going to be a few mixes there. But I think Zachary Carter might be one of the few guys where he's going to show up, measure at what he measures at. He's going to test at what he tests at, and he's going to move as well as he does with agility drills and positional drills. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing there, because I think that when you look at the Gators this year, you're looking at quality, not quantity, because of course we've only had 4 invites. But the last invite that we're going to talk about is someone who's very intriguing, because it's Jeremiah Moon. And Jeremiah Moon, like Kaiir Elam, like his measurables are going to be off the roof. It's going to be insane. Like his arm length, his lankiness, ridiculous. But I don't know how he's going to test, because if he's fully healthy, Jeremiah Moon is going to be one of the more athletic linebacker edge prospects that you're going to see. But we don't know if he's healthy. I don't know if he's healthy, because I know that Jeremiah Moon, he pulled out of the Senior Bowl kind of very late into the process. As in like the day of the first practice, we found out he wasn't going to be there. So Jeremiah Moon pulled out of the Senior Bowl, and I haven't seen a reason why. So it could have been a personal reason. There were a few people that pulled out of the Senior Bowl for personal reasons. I believe 2 pulled out just to focus on combine testing. And Jeremiah Moon's someone that we don't know why he pulled out of the Senior Bowl. So it could be an injury, it could be personal, it could be whatever. But if it's an injury, that really sucks, because he's someone who kind of needs the combine. Like he's one of those players where the combine is going to help the start of his NFL career immensely. Like he's going to put up numbers, and people, and like an NFL GM is going to be like, whoa, like we need that in our team, like somewhere. And it's like, I thought that if he was at the Senior Bowl, like the Lions would have fallen in love with him. But well, I guess not, because he wasn't there. So we'll see. But we also know that there was at least one more Gator that did get a combine invite, and that was Trey Dean, where Trey Dean, he posted Trey Dean about getting a combine invite, but he ultimately decided to come back to Gainesville, which I think was a solid decision for him. I didn't think it was going to happen, just based on everything about him. I thought that he'd be gone to the NFL, but that's not the case. So Trey Dean got invited, but came back to Gainesville. So there were 5 Gator invites. 4 will be there. and one snub that belonged to be there more than multiple running backs. I realized I named Isaiah Pacheco, but there are more that did not deserve invites that got invites, especially when you look at what Malik Davis did as a pass catcher. I think a lot of NFL teams would like to see him there. And guess we won't get to see it until the pro day how he's going to test, but I think that he'll test very well as too. So yeah, I don't really get it. I thought NFL teams would like to see him there. Like I thought NFL teams were going to be like, oh, well, we might want to work him at the slot, so we want to talk to him now. But c'est la vie. That's all I can say about that. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolution time. If yours is about getting fit, eating healthier, doing whatever you're trying to do, make sure to include Built Bar in your plan. I'm really bad at keeping mine. I'm very honest about that. I have such a sweet tooth, and it's every day my sweet tooth gets me. But Built Bar makes it a lot easier because Built Bar is already coated in 100% chocolate, which is amazing. Most bars have 130 calories and just 4 net carbs, along with 17 grams of protein. Throw out the hidden stashes, Reese's in the desk drawer, Kit Kat in the cupboard. Get Built Bar. You don't got to sneak around. You don't got to feel bad. Built Bar is always coming out with new limited time flavors, so you'll never get bored. And make sure to use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your next order. That is locked. LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your next order at Built or BuiltBar.com. Wrapping up today's show, we're going to talk about the Gators in the NBA. 3 Gators in the NBA. 3 that I wanted to highlight a little bit, and that's why I chose to do it here. But I'm going to start off with Dorian Finney-Smith because this man is awesome. Dorian Finney-Smith recently signed a contract extension worth $55 million over 4 years. That is a huge deal for him, especially because he's he's a talented player. He's a starter in the NBA, so he's talented, but he's not he's not a superstar. And I guess it's more just me still not being adjusted to NBA contracts as opposed to NFL contracts, which is like $15 million per year in the NBA is what you get if you're an okay starter. But 15 million in the NFL is just ridiculous. So that's where I'm at with it now. But it's awesome to see, or almost 15, with Dorian Finney-Smith getting this contract because he's not a superstar. He's not. He's a reliable starter, but he's more of a 3-and-D high energy kind of guy. And there's so many roles available for those guys. If you can be reliable 3-and-D, there's a role for you. But he's also not just a 3-and-D guy. Like we've seen 3-and-D players before where literally all they do is shoot threes and play defense. But like Dorian Finney-Smith, he rebounds more than most 3-and-D guys. He slashes more than most 3-and-D guys, but he's primarily a 3-and-D player. But it's also funny because he is probably one of the last starters from that 2014 Florida Gators team that I would have expected to be a legitimate starter in the NBA. It's just that's where we were, where I was like, like he's energy, he's hustle, he's effort, but there's bench spots for that. But I was like, Patrick Young is going to be a dude in the NBA. Scotty Wilbekin is going to be a dude in the NBA. And neither of them were dudes in the NBA. Scotty Wilbekin did his thing. Patrick Young did his thing. I love that he's with the SEC Network now. But Dorian Finney-Smith is one of the last guys that I expected to really be a breakout NBA starter here. And that's what he's doing. He's been doing it for a few years now, and now he's got his 4-year extension. He's getting paid, and I love what he's doing. Like good for you, Dorian Finney-Smith. Next up, Bradley Beal is the next person to talk about, and he's still a Washington Wizard, which really sucks. I'm sorry if you're a Wizards fan, but I mean, I'm sorry, literally, like my condolences for you being a Wizards fan, but also like I'm sorry if you get offended by this, but rumors came out just before the trade deadline that Bradley Beal and his agent were meeting with the Wizards front office. And I, like most people, were like, yes, like Bradley Beal is finally demanding a trade from the Washington Wizards, which again, like I don't necessarily have anything against them, but they're like, he's wasted so much of his career being a Washington Wizard, trying to make this team relevant, trying to get them to where they got to go. But it's just always something with that team. So I was like, thank goodness he's finally forcing his way out of DC. Nope, not the case. Bradley Beal and his agent did meet with the Washington Wizards front office, but it was to discuss, I'm assuming it was to discuss the possibility of his surgery. And it's been decided Bradley Beal is out for the remainder of the year after getting surgery for a torn ligament in his left wrist. So his non-shooting wrist. So at least there's that. So it hopefully won't mess up his shot too much. But yeah, he is out for the remainder of the season, which sucks. Hopefully, by the time he comes back, they'll have a little bit more stability in that team with the roster specifically, because it's bad at times. Like Kyle Kuzma's been so hit and miss. Like he's been more hit than miss lately. I'll give him credit, but he's been so hit and miss, and just there's not a ton of depth on the team. Spencer Dinwiddie's whatever. Like I know, yeah, there's a lot going on with the team right now with roster movement and just being crappy. But I was hoping Bradley Beal would be asking for a trade, but not the case. The final Florida Gator to talk about, though, is a rookie. I mean, we could also talk about Scotty Lewis, but he's played 7 minutes in the NBA in the 2 games that he's played. So we're not. We're talking about Tre Mann. Tre Mann is someone who I was very high on going into the draft. I was like, hey, he could be Trae Young. Like he's got the same wiry build. He's got this. He can shoot floaters. Because he's not great at finishing around the rim. So floaters, 3-ball, creating shots himself. I was like, Tre Mann's going to be a dude, and so far he hasn't been. But he's picked up some starts recently. There's injury, there's roster movement with everybody, and with the Thunder, that there's especially that. But he's still struggling to kind of find his role. But I feel like that was expected of him. He's someone who, while he was at Florida, like his first year, he was showing like flashes and showing promise, but it was still like he needed to find his comfort zone. He needed to relax a little bit and kind of pick and choose his shots better. And he needed to get cooking consistently, but he needed those things to happen first. But now he's started, I think, 11 games in the NBA out of playing 43, if I'm not mistaken. So he's finding his spot, but he's getting there too. Like we're seeing it happen every now and then. A week or two ago against Dallas, he had a career high 29 points, shot efficiently or relatively efficiently. He played well, but he's still also having his games where he's going, 0 for 6, where he's going 1 for 8. Like he's still having games where he's just going ghost, but he's also having games like against Dallas where he's just going unconscious. So he's someone who we knew his rookie year, he'd be wildly inconsistent. That's what he was in college his freshman year. That's what he'll be in the NBA for his rookie year, maybe even his second year. But I mean, he's also someone who he's shown enough flashes where it's like, we'll live with it. Like we'll live with it if he's going to go off for 30. Like he's not J.R. Smith level of productions yet, but he could be there. And I think that's something to pay attention to. And J.R. Smith was wildly inconsistent, but you dealt with it because there were games where he'd go off for 45, and it's like, well, damn, like we're gonna rock with it. Like whether it's good or bad, we're rolling with the ceiling here. And he's contributing to a young team trying to find his rhythm. So it's hard for me to fault him too much, where it's like there's not a ton going on for that team. You got Josh Giddey, you got Lou Dort, you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but there's not a ton going on for that team. So I mean, let him find his rhythm, let him find his role. Who cares? I ain't gonna fault him for it. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow to talk more Florida Gators. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports. That is WHOLENINE Sports. And I will see you all tomorrow.